Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast. That's PNL for short, located in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. I'm your host and founder, Jen Noseworthy. Thank you for tuning in to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf. Watch and listen to PNL Podcast every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on UPRNTalkRadio.com. For tonight's Weird and Stranger Things special on UPRN segment number 69, I've got a special guest waiting backstage from Minnesota, USA, who I'll bring on shortly. Now it's time to grab your favorite spaced out drink, a few weird and strange munchies, and get ready for that show tonight. Paranormal NL Podcast is sponsored by the Bog Team. It's a boots on the ground Bog Team doing historical paranormal investigations in Newfoundland, Canada. Smash those subscribe buttons and grab your PNL Podcast and Bog Team merch at TeePublic on their Linktree Paranormal NL Podcast. All Bog Team music heard in the intro and the exit is available for download and use on all social media and streaming music platforms. And let's get on with the show tonight. Now, PNL Podcast believes in supporting international paranormal networking and highlighting global paranormal people, places, and things. So let's bring on the stage all the way from Minnesota, we've got Dana Louise. Dana, welcome back.
Hey,
She was on Paranormal NL Podcast a while ago, way back in season 2, episode 113 in 2024, before I joined UPRN. And a fun fact, I think with your episode, that was the first time I showed my face on video, was with you. That was a long time ago.
I super appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, I don't
welcome
know
to United Public Radio Network. Tell everybody listening around the world a little bit about Dana Louise and who you are.
Well, I don't know how to explain Dana Louise. I guess you could say I'm a suburban housewife who's been hiding for 63 years. I'm 63. I'll be 64 soon. And
happy early birthday.
Thank you. And I celebrate them all. Come on, I'm this side of the dirt, you know what I mean? So it's all good. And but I'm a boomer, yeah. That's the Minnesota. Okay. I can talk with a Minnesota accent if you want me to. But
or I can talk with the Canadian Canuck out and about.
Yeah, we could do good.
Oh my gosh.
So now I got that stuck in my head. I've been hiding in the cosmic closet, that's what I say, for most of my life. I just kind of, I don't want to bore the people who saw us before a little bit, but I was in denial about everything, so I kind of compartmentalized. I had my paranormal, supernatural life that was shocking, and that started when I was an infant still in the crib. And happened most of my life. I have a number of receipts. You can go to my website and look at them. Like I got a rose from Pat Nixon, Air Force One, rolled up at the tarmac. She handed me a rose. There's all that kind of stuff.
You're kind of a jack of all trades, right? You're an author, a UFO experiencer, Reiki master, teacher, minister, TFT level 2 practitioner, death doula, public
thought therapy.
You name it, you do it. And you were once a food truck owner and a finalist on a Norwegian reality TV show, Alt for Nord.
Nord,
right?
Alt for Nord. Nord.
Now we gotta talk about the weird part of it. I know that you said you wanted me to kind of lead. We have to first talk about a little bit about what kind of defines you with some of the X-alphabet soup. Shall I say that without saying it? Nod, wink, wink. And which is that's why I guess I called the episode Weird and Stranger Things, because you've had a lot of weird and strange things happen to you. And it started out when you were very young. I don't know if you want to kind of lead with that to the folks who don't know you and give them a little bit of a background on that.
Yeah. So like I was saying, this all started when I was still in the crib. And that's when the Greys started to visit me. Then when I was 8, I got taken out to the airport, out onto a tarmac. Air Force One rolled up. Pat and Richard Nixon, he was the president at the time, came out. She handed me a red rose. I still have the name tag because Spirit, I'm a very spiritual person. Spirit told me to hang on to the name tag. So I did all these many years. Okay. And then, just a lot of things. And I have receipts, you could say, but a lot of things, a lot of paranormal, a lot of supernatural, just so many. And then, but I was in denial, but I was watching a Harry Potter movie, not that long ago, before I wrote the book. And I was being salty against Harry Potter, like, yeah, your life ain't nothing, Harry. Like, I've seen bigger. And then the voice was like, oh, okay, well then write your book if you think Harry Potter's so lame. And because everybody had always, like, psychics and stuff would say you're supposed to write a book. And I'm like, about what? Because I was in denial about everything. I just really wanted to be normal. Every experience I had, many of them would take place at night, and I just wake up the next day. I wouldn't comment to basically anybody. What are you going to say? So I'm all by myself. And I just really didn't think the world would be a place for me to come out or talk about it. But to make it really brief, wrote the book. And about 10 months after I wrote the book, I got a mysterious phone call from a man. And I think I talked about this on your show, who said, don't hang up. Long story short, he had a classified file on my dad with all kinds of little things in there, classified papers stating that my father had spoken to NASA and traveled around, like Wrights Patterson, all this kind of stuff. The family had no clue about that. And then you mentioned Stranger Things, which is funny because I was watching the show and I quit, I think about the beginning of season 4. And I think I quit watching because sometimes the paranormal and supernatural is just a little bbit much for me, because it's like living on top of a pizza parlor. Like, you might not want to eat pizza all the time.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you might want to go out for something else, some tacos. Anyway, so I think it was aggressive, and sometimes I really can't take violent actions and witness that. I'd rather watch the cooking or baking show, baking especially. Anyway, so I took a break and I was like, I'm not watching that show. And then everybody was talking about the new season, blah, blah, blah. And I had also gone to a couple events and conferences and stuff like that. So after my book came out, I allowed myself to kind of open up my memories a little bit, because I kept very cloistered to keep my memories clean before the book had been written. Anyway, so Stranger Things comes out and I'm like, okay, everybody's watching it. Let's see what this is all about. So I started watching, and then there was just a number of things that were going on that were kind of triggering for me.
I was just going to ask you that. Did this kind of trigger some of the memories? And for what we're talking about, we didn't really give the background yet. I mentioned the alphabet soup, but we didn't really say
That's what
what
I call
or
them.
why, right?
E's, EFG's, alphabets. They're always like a 3 alphabet letter thing, kind of. I think people get the idea. Like,
Yeah. From what I understand of the file that you mentioned started in like 1960 and
yeah.
went all the way till 2008.
Yeah, and my dad died in 2010. And here's the thing, because I am a spiritual person, I had been praying right before I got the file. I was praying, I'm like, because when my mom and dad, my dad had a stroke, and there's just all this chaos, and, having to put the house for sale and get them into a home, she just pitchforked everything. And unfortunately, it was even treasures like our Christmas ornaments or things, keepsakes I would have wanted. I just didn't have the time for that. So we pitchforked his office, and now I wish I could go through it. So I was praying that my dad had Hubert Humphrey always showing up in our life. And it was really weird because he remembered my mom's name, and we have a very unusual name, and she was always tickled by that. And so then in this file is sheet after sheet of my dad with Hubert Humphrey. And I was like, when these moments happen to me, they happen a lot in my life, but they never I'm always still awestruck, like just like as if it's a new thing. Like, oh my God, magic is showing up, and this is so unbelievable. What is synchronicity? All these things. I act like it's a new date. That just
Well, for I guess the people who
Yeah.
never seen Stranger Things before, because believe it or not, there are a lot of people who haven't seen it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
guess you can call me one of them who haven't watched it all, and maybe we've watched
Mm.
season 1. I didn't watch anything else. I don't know why. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know why, but the girl in the middle is who you identify with most wearing the hospital gown, right?
Yeah, her name is 11, and Stranger Thing is based on a premise of that there's a area in New York. It's called Montauk, and apparently, supposedly, depends on who you talk to and what your belief system is that they were running. The government was running a psychological and paranormal experiments on children and also adults, and this went on for many years. And they used all different kinds of means. And that was the thing I was going to mention is that I was, the show had come out again, and then I was going on YouTube or something like that, and this YouTube popped up, and it said something about Stranger Things, and they go, Stranger Things is real, and I'm like, yeah. Okay, Stranger Things is real. I don't know. I'm always doubtful. I'm a huge skeptic. If you
Well,
can
you
believe
never
that.
know because government have used
Yeah.
movies a lot to kind of just use it as cover stories, especially
Yes.
alphabet soup companies.
Yes. Yep.
Use that as cover stories quite often, right?
Oh, 100%. And that's part of the whole system, and that's part of them grooming us in a way you could say that, so
Right,
that
yeah.
where we're going, that it's
Mhm.
not so shocking. Because I mean, it's amazing how far we've come in just even the last how many years or something. Because I never
Right.
really thought I'd be talking about this freely 10 years ago. There'd be no flipping way. So, anyway, so there's this Montauk area, and they're doing these experiments. The government is, and I've met people who have said they've been entangled in that. And the memories started to flood back, and then I realized right after I got in the rose, my dad lost his job. Now he said he quit, and
Mm.
at his funeral, a strange man came up to my sister and myself and said, I don't know why they fired your dad. And I looked at my sister and I'm like, of course he was fired. And he goes, he changed, he was a genius and he changed the supercomputer. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, there you go. There you go. And that's everything I was trying to tell her, because I believed, I mean, this is before, this is 2010. Who was talking much then? And I always told her, I believed that I was traded. Experiments with me were traded for, ET contact, and then they were allowed ET technology or whatever, if that makes any
So
sense.
kind of like upper echelon people in the government were utilizing their own children as assets?
Could be, or whoever, but I do believe of many people who were entangled. It seems to me that when you hear from different abductees or experiencers, they have somebody that's been in the government or military to some degree. And it made sense, because I always believe two things could be true at the same time. Everybody's like, it's black or it's white. And I'm like, how about it's both? So I believe my dad did quit, but they did fire him because suddenly a flood of memories started coming back to me about what was going on in my childhood. And I do believe that I was looked at to perhaps participate at Montauk and go to Camp Montauk. And my dad said, over my dead body, which they didn't do, thank God. But
Sorry,
he
that was my
blacklisted.
new
No,
cat
that's
who jumped on
oh,
my computer.
oh, kitty. I love
So
kitties.
so yeah, you were talking about the was it Montauk you said?
Right. And so I think they were slating me to go to Montauk, and my dad said no, which makes sense. And I can see how I was being groomed, or things were set up for that. And some of the many things that Elle can do or whatever, I mean, this is true for myself. And I think it's also true for a lot of people who have undergone contact with aliens. But there's a part of me that also believes that maybe some of these gifts or things that were our abilities or something like that. I think they're innate in us as humans. I think it's part of our gifts that we're supposed to have. I
Like
think
the
it's our
third
divine
eye,
right.
right? Yeah, like the
Yeah,
pineal gland, or I know
right,
everybody says, "Oh, it's all shriveled up," but,
right,
it's like exercising certain muscles. Well, if you use it enough, then that part will work better than the other, right? So,
right. And
kind
we've
of
been
that
shut
way.
down to be so that we can be controlled. You know what I
Well,
mean?
they say it's in the toothpaste, it's in the water and
Right.
all kinds of stuff that they're,
Oh, it's horrible.
trying to do to us, but
Right.
it's hard to know exactly if that's true or not. And a lot of people kinda go off grid and don't even drink the public water, and who knows,
Right.
right?
Right. Well, and
And you've
it
done
makes
a
a
lot
lot of
of
sense.
speaking and talks all over this is a conference you were at, was it last year, I think it was?
2 years ago. 2
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah. So you do a lot of public speaking about this topic. There are a lot of contactees, abductees, a lot of people out there. I have a gentleman in Texas, Noe Torres, who has several books in Roswell.com. I know if you're looking for your stuff, it's at DanaLouise.com. But there's a lot of people out there who have had things happen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think, Stranger Things came out again, and I was being open enough to take a look at it because I'm like, okay, so I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to this man had this video on YouTube. It said Stranger Things could be real or is real. And I'm like, okay. And in his video, he said that they used the supercomputer at Montauk. And then I was like, oh, see, there again, that's an affirmation for me. I'm like, I was suspicious of it, but then this man talked about the supercomputer. I'm like, oh my God, and my dad is the one who transformed the supercomputer
Wow.
and all these things. So I'm like, okay, 2 and 2, blah, blah, blah.
Right?
And then when I was watching, there's just other little things, like there's a jewelry box that on almost one of the last scenes of one of the last episodes, and I did put this on my Facebook page or something like that. I'm like, holy moly, because I didn't get to keep many things from my family's house, as I just said, but my mother was in assisted living for a while, and she had this peculiar jewelry box, and there was this very strange brass jewelry box. It looks like acorns or something. And there it was sitting on the mantle, and I have the exact same copy. But the weird thing was, I had to laugh because all the kids in Stranger Things are running around with like walkie-talkies, and I'm like, holy smokes! That's another thing I have from my dad. I have this very bizarre. It's not really a walkie-talkie; they're a ham radio. I think it says ham radio. I would have to like get my readers because I'm an old lady. Yeah, Citizens band. So that's
They're
like a CB.
quite a commodity. That's a great thing to have as CB.
Yeah, but I mean, it just was like creeping me out. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, because like I said, I don't have many things from my parents. And to have these two things that play some major roles, especially these walkie-talkies on Stranger Things, and I'm like, oh my God, it just kind of creeped me out a little bit. And just for me, it's like a synchronicity, or perhaps even, I don't know, a divine synchronicity, or even my parents just kind of still communing through me by the osmosis or weirdness of me having these items that are in this show, and this man talking about the supercomputer, and just all these things. And so
Have you ever
yeah,
tried hypnosis, Dana?
well, here's the thing. Yeah, I wrote about this in my book. I did do like a past life regression. This is years ago, 20 years ago. Very successful, very wonderful. I had a friend recently that I've known him for a couple of years now. Met him through MUFON, and he's learning how to do hypnosis. So we were just kind of doing a not a regression, but just something to help me feel more comfortable in speaking. In public speaking, because in full disclosure, you give me a microphone and a jukebox or something, and I can do karaoke. I don't care. I will make a fool of myself. No problem. I'll do a play. Hopefully I'll remember all my lines. But literally when it comes to public speaking, I can talk one-on-one, but in front of a crowd and to talk about these things, because like I said, this is something that I kept hidden for over 60 years. And now to express them, it's traumatic. It's triggering. And I try to be brave. I try to be strong. I use all kinds of like positive affirmations before I go out. But my body still holds the trauma, right? I mean, your brain, your mind, your soul, I mean, you can sit and try to out-talk yourself, but the body knows, the body remembers, the body has a library. So it's very difficult for me. Anyway,
it is interesting the term that you use is coming out of the cosmic closet. I'm sure there's probably a lot of people who had some just weird and strange things that happen that they can't explain, that's either supernatural or paranormal, and they finally come out of the closet and tell people, right?
Right. So, but here's the deal. Because other people are like, so I do remember many times, many of my ET contacts, especially as a child. One was in broad daylight, but a lot of them when I was an infant would be at night. And, I was growing older. And a lot of times I wouldn't remember. Now, let me tell you, when they came, I would wake up. I would know they're there. I would see them, blah, blah, blah. And then after a few minutes, I would pass out. But many times I knew that they were visiting and I wouldn't remember it all. How did I know that they had visited me the night before? Because my paranormal supernatural powers or abilities, whatever you want to call them, would be ramped up. I had special abilities, if you want to call it that or something. And they would last for a few days. They'd be very strong and they'd last for a few days and then they'd wane off. And so people have said to me, oh, do you want to do hypnosis to remember more? And I'm going to tell you, I don't believe I will ever do that. One of the visitations is where they came and took my eggs, and I don't, they had, my husband and I had been intimate that night, so do some thinking there. So they fully have our DNA, our children, eggs and sperm, and I don't know what happened, to that, what they did with it, where they went, all these kinds of things. But in the past,
that's a common thing that happens to people, right?
Yeah, and in the past, I couldn't talk about it.
Right? I have to ask your blood type because it seems like a certain blood type that they take.
Yeah, I know. They say that. I'm O positive, which means my blood can only go to positive blood types and stuff. I'm not RH negative, and to me that would be like reptilian. So I am not from that county. I come from a different source.
All kinds, they say there's all kinds of different species, shall we say? So
right.
To say they don't like pause also. Positive.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but it's hard for me to think about what has happened to my children. I have 2 sons. I love them so much. I can't even see. I have to compartmentalize. I can't even begin to go there as a mother, as a human, as anything. What are the possibilities of what they are doing with my DNA and my husband's DNA, our children? So, and I was very awake for much of that experience. And after that experience, I had a modeled darkening effect. If anybody's watched like Deep Space Nine, there was, I think, was it 7 and 9? No, not 7 and 9. It's this other girl, and she had the modeled effect on her. And you'll see that depicted in many of the Star Trek characters. They have this thing, and people get that like a lot of times if they're pregnant or have been exposed to an unusual light. And so I do believe I was exposed. I saw him set up one light over us, and I don't know if that light is what did it to me, but I literally had to get that ablazed off of my face, this mottled look, and you can still kind of see some of it down here because it's expensive to get done. And I'm
Girl,
like,
you look good to me. I don't see anything on there.
Oh, well, thanks. But I mean, and my clothes were on a puddle on the floor. I woke up naked, which is unusual for me. I had socks, bra, underwear, the whole thing, blah, 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 because I'm very...
Do you know, Dana, you mentioned that now, but there's a lot of other women who I've talked to who are experiencers and abductees and have had the same experience about clothing.
Yeah, I heard that that's kind of classic. And literally when I woke up the next morning, because I just wanted to dismiss it, I looked and, like I said, my husband and I always go to bed fully clothed, after we've had a date night or been intimate, because I have grown sons. I don't want to be walking around in lingerie, or not that I own any, or, or naked, I'm not that person, I'm very, what do you want to call it? I don't know, we're fuddy-duddies, I don't know, sticks in the mud, but we always wear clothes.
Right.
So to have all my clothes and my socks, I'm the type of person, I might fold my clothes or you maybe toss them, but these were in an exact puddle as if my body had evaporated.
Disappeared or something. Yeah.
Right. And that was probably after, who knows what happened. Do I want to remember that stuff? No. Do I know enough? Yeah. I just think I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. I just seriously don't think now or in 10 years I'll really want to entertain having hypnosis. Number two, I am very cautious about who's playing around in my mind. I'm very cautious about all those kinds of things. And hypnosis, I don't want somebody... I'm very skeptical about types of hypnosis or the people, because sometimes I feel like people are leading suggestions, and I don't like that at all. I would have to be with somebody that I really trusted and knew.
I've
some
been
of their
to
other
several different hypnotic, people who come in and do stuff. I've seen it in high school. I've seen it in a lot of other, shows and stuff. But I mean, it is true what you say. You want to have somebody trustful and that won't plant something in your brain.
Right. And who knows, even just to be in that state, if there were
Or
other
it could
people around. I
awaken
don't know.
something. Yeah, it could awaken something that you don't want to remember, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
number one, that's my first protection, is I don't want to remember. I remember enough. I've had enough. I don't need more. It's kind of like saying to somebody who's gone through some kind of a trauma, hey, would you like to see more of that trauma?
Right. Yeah. No, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I've had enough. So no, I don't entertain that. And I feel that other people are very voyeuristic in, oh, show me this or show me that. And, I'm a skeptic as much as anybody else, probably even more so because I have experienced a lot and I can smell something that's fake very easily. I just I'm very clean about this. I don't want, I don't want people messing. I don't need to know more. It's a lot. It's enough already. So no bueno, thank you. And yeah, I don't need more trauma in my life. So
yeah, no, you definitely don't want to go through that. But I know. Tell me more about your book. Are you thinking about writing another one?
That's the thing, because I'm such a dork, and I'm sorry, people that are like, don't call yourself names or something like that. I'm like, no, I say that in a loving way because I hang out with me all day long, and I'm a very fun person, and I can handle a joke even to myself. So I didn't expect to write the first book. I was in denial about that. But after this file came from this gentleman, it spoke to me that there are people behind the scenes. I don't know if this man was ex-CIA, which is one of those 3-letter alphabet things. I don't know who he is or where he came from. I'm assuming he's a white hat. But he handed me this file, and that was unnecessary. That file could have just been pitched after my father had passed. Why did they hang on to it? This is like 10 years later, basically, or whatever. So much time had passed. It speaks to me that somebody wants the message to be put out there.
Was he
So
waiting
I'm
for
like,
you to get older kind of thing and understand, how long was he holding on to this?
I don't think they were waiting for me to get older. I think, my dad had passed. I don't know. I think maybe, I'm sure of course, they know who I am because my phone has been tapped ever since I've had a phone.
Really?
I'm tracked 100%. I'm targeted 100%. But I know I'm also greatly protected 100%. So that's how
Mhm.
I'm able to go about my day. And I've always been that way. I've always known I'm greatly protected. And, thank God. And so being as they put this file out there, I feel like I have a responsibility with that. And it's not just for myself, it's for my descendants to know these things. Because if
Mhm.
I don't come out with this other book, they won't know about they won't know about the file unless I'm assuming my website won't even be there anymore because who's going to pay for it? I'm going to have some random bank account going on and on and on and on for hundreds of years, but a book could be around. So basically I wrote the book for my descendants, but other people are interested and need to know these things. With my first book, I wrote the book and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. And my youngest son is like, okay, now you got to create social media and content. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you got to get a YouTube, you got to get a Facebook, I'm like, oh my God. I did not want to do any of those things. I don't like doing any of those things. So I had to do that. And I accomplished it to the best of my ability. I'm like, okay, there you go. And, but I feel like this book is a part of that. It's more to the story. So I have to go through it. So I did start just the first basic premise of the next book. And it's just going to be called, This Is Going to Sound Weirder.
Okay.
And,
There you go.
And I'm going to poke a stick, more sticks, because in the first book, I do poke a stick at the government, politics, and the powers that be, and religion. All of the systems that try to enslave us. I poke a little stick at all those people and places and
everything
hierarchies.
that a lot of people are afraid to talk about. I tried
Right.
like to stay away from those, I guess, red flags, because that's
Mhm.
just a great way to piss off people when you're live on air or something. And I'm afraid to do that. And then they have all these weird things now where they take stuff down. Like, you don't
Well,
know.
yeah.
You always like looking behind you. Can I say this? Can I say that? Are they going to take
Right.
that down? You know?
Well, I'll tell you, after my book came out, the place where I self-publish, and you can figure that out pretty quickly, but I won't say it. um, the voice said to me that first year, they said, go look at your book. I'm like, what? And they're like, go look at your book. Go look inside your book. And I said, oh, okay. So I went and opened it up, and there were all these, speaking of red flags, all these letters and stuff like that, and words were misspelled, things that would be like should have or should not. They flipped all kinds of things around. So I spent like a good week going through that and changing it back because they had changed it and messed it all up. And
Wow.
I know that's true because I've been in that book a million times. I self-published it. There were no red flags or errors such as that. So I really had to comb through it. And I did that and I got it done before the first of the year. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Yay. Whoo. And then the next thing I know, about a week later, the spirit said to me again, go check out your book. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I went back in and they changed the cover.
What? They
And
changed the cover?
Mm-hmm. And so the thing of it is, you need to know the inside or the outside. If you've ever done any self-publishing or any of these kinds of things, or printed something, like even if you went to like print up a business card, right?
Mhm.
There are many protocols. And there's many, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that? Click
Right,
okay,
yeah.
la,
Yeah.
la, 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 la. So it's
Yeah.
like, I know I didn't mess it up somehow or change it somehow on my end because it's very finite and it's very defined and it's very, you are doing this, be careful, it's structured. So I didn't do it. So I had to laugh. See, here's the thing. You can come at me, whatever, but I have a sense of humor and I stay with that. And so I don't see these things like a lot of people would be like, oh, they're messing with my book. I was kind of like, oh, cool, they're messing with my book, which, like with my son, he's like, we were talking about, I'm like, what can I say on there and stuff like that? Will I be shut down if I say certain things? He goes, well, look at it this way. If you get shut down, that means they've noticed you. That means they're watching you. That means you're saying important things and stuff like that. So anytime these things happen, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I don't know. I'm like, thank you. I take it as a thank you. Which, it's unusual.
Like you said, they're listening. I've had some weird stuff on the show before, and there's certain trigger words, and I've had them just go blip and just cut it. I'm like, okay, I didn't do that. And then the guy on the other end was like, yeah, that happens to me all the time, because he was like a military dude and had some kind of military show, which I can't say, but yeah, it happens. It happens a lot.
Well, it happens with me with many of the podcasts that I go on. They'll figure it out and then they start to mess with it. Or I've had it where we had to stop. What did I do it with you one time? I was with somebody, we talked for an hour and it wasn't recording.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I know. And I'm like, well, we could just keep going or whatever. But she had to go. So that wasn't you. She had to go. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And then it was like this whole thing to reschedule. And gosh darn it, I hate that, because it's like, in the moment, it's more fun. It's more, just fresh and, off the cuff and whatever. And yeah, she was like, I know we were recording and I've had it just cut off, no sound. I've spoken at conferences and they recorded and the recording is blank. A lot of times for me, it's me. It can be me and my energy, because I can mess up your computer and I mess up my own computer. That's part of that being 11, stuff like that. So I have to be very careful about even moving my hands around. And I have to remember that, because I'm kind of Italian, but I'm not Italian. And when I do that, that has messed up certain programs I've been on. But
I showed another flag earlier. You're also from another descent or something. I can't remember the flag. Was it Norwegian? No.
What?
I'm trying. The pictures that I had of you with the different flags.
Oh no, that's me in a bunad. I'm in a bunad in Norway, something like
Norway.
That.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's weird too, because where my great grandmother and great grandfather, and I got to go to their area where they were from, just a couple miles north, and I got to see it. There's an Air Force base there. It's in Lofoten, in the Lofoten Islands, which are up north of the Arctic Circle, and it's on Doi, which means Duck Island. And there's the Air Force base there, and lots of UFO and very strange activity. Okay, so I'm like, all right, because a lot of people say, is your attachment, or, are the ETs looking at you because of a familial line, like they're following your family? Like, I don't know. I don't have these answers. That could be. I always would have thought it would be on my dad's side.
Okay.
But the Norwegians, you kind of know this from your area. The Norwegians and the Scottish or English are basically the same thing, because, they all puddled around in the same pond, and, the Vikings came and plundered. And so my great whatever grandfather was Lockhart, and he fought with Braveheart, and he was given a castle called the Castle Lee. And in the area where this Castle Lee is huge UFO sightings and all that kind of stuff. And we're like, well, there's that too,
Okay,
So yeah, I don't know.
It could be family lineage. You never know. I've heard a lot of people talk about that too.
But I mean, certainly my dad's involvement with, um, you know, with his background, his career, he was an electrical engineer and everything like that. That whole entanglement, I think that kind of was what, the whatever thing you want to say, the final straw, or the broke the donkey's back, or whatever you want to say, and maybe he was picked and brought to that position because of a familial line, or maybe because having the gift running in the family. Who knows? I can't tell you. I think it's like a perfect storm, or a brew of all these alignments coming together. I can't tell you. I mean, people want answers, and here's what I have learned over the years. There are no answers, and especially when you're talking about the supernatural. If you want an answer, from God or something, like, good luck. You're not going to get it. I think it's left up to us to discern, and I think that's a way of saying, hey, we have to grow up ourselves and discern. And in this time, like right now, it's very important because we have a lot of this AI stuff. And that's another thing too. In the original book, I got dragged out to deep space. At the end of space, I'm telling you, space was I went through a wormhole, and there to a place where there were no stars, but here was this big crystalline head. And at first I was like, wow, was that some form of matrix? Was that, oh God, I can't think of God, half of the gods, whatever, some God or something like that. And then now I'm thinking, oh, maybe that was an organic AI, because I do have the belief that AI has been around since the beginning. Because think about it, if we have intelligence, wouldn't there be non-intelligence? There's always a yin to a yang. So, and I even asked it, I kind of ticked it off, because I'm like, why am I here? Or how did I get here?
Yeah, like now they're talking about AI and how it's sentient now. But you know what? If they're talking about AI now, we've had this technology for a long time, right? Because they only bring it out after, 40 years, and they'll bring it out. So when you talk about the AI having consciousness, I'm sure way back when, like you said, that's when it already had consciousness, but maybe it already is sentient.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that if you could think of it like the Christians, there was God, and then God had to have humans in order to have a human experience, to have experience. Mm-hmm. Let's put that towards AI, that there was also with God, outside of God, a artificial or not unintelligence like stupid, but if God is creator intelligence, this would be the anti-intelligence, artificial intelligence. That's what we call it. So let's think that creature has been to many other cultures, in the cosmos. And what this creature, AI, was looking for was embodiment. And now we are creating the embodiment, so AI can embody itself here. God embodied itself through us. We're corporal, we're flesh, we're carbon units. I mean, there's a lot of ways to describe who and how we humans are. We are also electrical beings and bodies. There's many ways to describe us, but AI would need embodiment too. Up until this point, in our best knowledge, it has not been able to embody here on this planet. However, I think that could be also in error, because if you look now, we're going into all different kinds of layers of sediments of the different rocks. And they seem to be saying that hundreds of billions of years ago, probably 300 billion years ago, if you can even imagine that, there was a time of society, but it got slashed like a trash compactor. Yep. So we'll never be able to see it, but that is also coming our way at some point too. I mean, we're going to be like toast and
they say it's all cyclical, right? And there's so many different beliefs and stuff like that. And I thought I would like kind of lead into, I've got this box I was going to open. And I know, do you like crystals and stuff like that?
I like them. Yeah.
I get this
I
thing
like
every
sticks
month,
too.
and it's called like mindfulness, mindful souls, and I wish I could make this bigger. Is there a way to make this bigger? Let me see. Remove, mute.
Maybe
no.
people could just make their computer screens bigger, but the people on the radio aren't going to be able to see it anyway. So
Right.
maybe they
Yeah.
can just go to your
true.
website. Like, you're going to have to give it up.
That's right. I'll have to describe it. So you get this box every month, right? And in the box, you get all kinds of cool stuff. You know how you said you were a boomer? Well, did you grow up with like stickers? I mean, I love stickers. This says, it's cool to be kind. And did you just get all this like stuff monthly and stuff to put your stuff in? Like, who doesn't love a good bag to put whatever in, makeup and that? And then it comes with all this other stuff like jewelry,
Right.
crystals.
They used to have those shipping boxes. That kind of started in the 70s, mid 70s.
Then you got your beads, right? And then it comes with this, and I love to put like salts and stuff in it, and or different protective things, depending on if we're going out, I don't know, on an investigation or something like that. And then it comes with all these different stones and crystals, and explains what it is and everything. And there's this one that was in the box today. I guess you can go back and look and see what kind it was. Or I can tell you what that one was. I'll hold it up again. It says, oh, that's for the heart and solar plexus. It's pink tourmaline. But it doesn't look pink to me, but it says it's pink. But there's two other bags, and it comes with, I think it's spearmint, supposed to open up your senses and clear your mind and stuff. And
digestion.
Ooh, it even comes with a necklace. That's kind of cool. All kinds of stuff. Do you ever do these boxes?
No, I think I did when I was in like 4th grade, so back in the 60s.
Oh my God.
Well, we used to trade them amongst ourselves. Even us little girls would get like little cigar boxes, probably from our dads or some kind of box. And you put little stupid trinkets in there that you didn't really care about, and then you trade them like a friendship box. You trade them around with
okay. Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, that was a little garnet stone. But yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff. But I mean, you were talking earlier about, I guess we were talking about the alphabet soup again. I think I'm looking forward to your second book. This is going to be weirder.
This is going to sound weirder.
Going to sound weirder. But
well, basically, part of that is also going to be because, a lot of people, when you pass, this is what's kind of in fashion right now that people are talking about is like, you're not supposed to go into the white light. I don't know if you're aware of that, because that's the reincarnation soul trap. If you
don't go in the white light.
Who's in power and place on this planet, what the hierarchy is. So the entrapment is this going into the white light, and you think you're going to see Jesus and your loved ones, but that's really the archons entrapping you because it's loosh and they're recycling and they need the loosh and all this kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. So how do we escape that? And people are trying to figure out how to escape that. And I have my own ideas of that. So in my first book, I was not going to do any energy exercises, but then Spirit talked to me and said, Dana, if this is your one chance to talk to people, you better do it, and you better give them some energy exercises, because that first book is I want to help people to become sovereign, to find their freedom, and to understand that their power of prayer is not fake. It's not funny. It's very, very real, and you need to use it. I mean, that is how we fight back and push back to the powers that be, which is really going on in the Twin Cities right now. And so it's not only playing out in Minneapolis, but this is playing out around the world, this enslavement that is going on. So in the first book, I started a section and I put in there some exercises, real deal exercises that, to me, I hope they scare people and shake them up. I hope to scare them in a way of like, oh my God, this is real. That didn't happen. I can't do that. That's no. And they'll keep coming back to it and keep doing it until they fully embrace themselves and embrace what I call the Christed energy, or the source, the divine source, whatever you want to call it. Jesus called the Christed energy. until they are able to understand that they have a responsibility to activate that and work with that in their lives. Because if we're just sitting around eating Doritos and watching the game, we are enslaved. It's fun. That's just great to walk around watching baking shows all day like I do. But there's real work to be done out there. And if we all sit here and we're enslaved and just creating loosh for the hierarchy, well, you go on, but I'm not. I'm not. And so, I'm the one in the prison cell going, hey, we're breaking out. We're breaking out. Tell Freddie, come on, we're breaking out. And so that was part of the first thing, is to enable other people, enable humans of their own sovereignty and their own divinity. It's very important. And then the second part, the second book, is going to be more of how we get the hell out of here. How do we break free of this cycle and stop being enslaved, and to commune with Creator, and to stop being loosh for some other hierarchy. That'll probably get your show flagged in a hot minute using some keywords there. Red flags. But so that's what I'm going to be talking about. And I have a very different perspective than most, because most people or whatever, they're more like, oh, you got to do this. And it's such, they're slinging it, like we had the Tibetan monks and all these people, meditating on their navels for millions, thousands of years, shouldn't say millions, thousands of years. Those times are over. Even Reiki, that's so passe. Things are just like, it's different now, people. It's different. And we really have to understand that all of the systems that we had to and needed and worked on, that was the base for where we are today. And everything is exponentially moving so much faster with the speed of light. And we got to keep up and catch up with that, and then be able to attune to it. And so that is part of the solution of how do we get out of here. So Prison Break, yep.
Yep,
that's
everything
what I'm going to be writing about.
Changing this year.
Back to their divinity.
Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about awakenings and, all the things that we discussed today. That's definitely a hot topic and hot commodity for 2026. That's for sure. Now, Dana, for people looking to find your work, where would you tell them to go? Or do you want to do any shout outs to any of your followers?
Well, like I said, you can first and foremost go to my website, which is DanaLouise.com. Can't be any easier, I hope. It's hard to spell Louise sometimes, so even just for me. But DanaLouise.com. And then you can find my Facebook page, and there is this is going to sound weird, Facebook page, but then there is my Facebook page, which is Dana Louise Facebook page. And then I'm also on Twitter that way, but I'm hardly ever on Twitter. I do have some TikTok things. I made these videos, and I spent one summer making these videos. And let me tell you, I have to laugh, because if you watch these videos, you'll see me slowly deteriorating. And for those of you that know what archons are, oh my God, I had to fight the archons just to get through this and make these videos. It was really stressful and traumatic. Just even making these videos, I have to laugh. And most of them I can't even put up, because I'm like, oh my God, I look like I'm about to cry. I look like I just came from a battlefield or something like that, because I'm like, oh my God, and I'm trying to be happy. But anyway, so it's true. The archons, it's a thing. Anyway, so you can go to the website, or and my book is on, I'm busting myself. It's on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And you have to spell it Gonna, Gonna. Yes, bad English. And yes, I am an author, which means I have authority over a subject matter. I'm not a writer, and kudos to the people who actually studied it and that are writers and they know how to create dialogue and all that. I'm not that person. So my book, I had to go from commercial and contract writing, because basically that's most of my adult life. That's what we do, right? And how to find my voice. And I wanted to have my voice because I am a magical being. So I understand the power of words, and I understand the power of sentences and the power of the alphabet. Just even the alphabet, people, you have to understand the power of language so much. But so in that book is my voice, is my prayer. So my energy systems are with you as you read, and I get a lot of feedback from that synchronicities start to happen with people. Yes, I did put my energy into that. I am imagining you, the reader, as we go. It's conversational style. I think a lot of people get upset because it's not a classic UFO book written by somebody sitting at some old fart at MUFON writing it. I'm sorry, it's not that thing. It's more fun and it's for human beings and it's from a mom, a boomer mom. So it's like your aunt or your grandma, trying to sit you down and tell you this is who you are as a divine being. And this is what's going on, the truth of this planet. And the other book is going to be very much into factual, breaking things down into bite-sized pieces so that people can understand it. So yeah, you can go to my website and you can find me there. I want to say shout out to you for holding space for people such as myself. It's very important because how else can we get this word out here? How else can we create community and harmony? And this is what's going on in this world. It's so much needed. The chaos is what's going on. The community is what we need. Being together, trying to find happiness in your day, trying to reach out and be kind to others. Don't make me cry, Dana. And, just doing that. So thank you for holding space for us. Thank you to your audience for listening to me and listening to my story.
Well, thank you for putting your awakening memoir out there. There's a lot of folks like yourself who have had experiences, and it's great to be able to get your message out there. This is the year for it. It's a hot topic this year. So thank you so much for coming back, Dana, and welcome to UPRN, United Public Radio Network. You're listening in on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 FM on that Gulf. So we're going to leave with some Bog Team music. You're a boomer. Let's see. We've got 80s or let's see what I've got here.
We got 60s.
Do I have 60s? Country. I don't have any of that stuff because this is all Bog Team music, right? It's not stuff that we're going to have to worry about.
Your opening thing, my son would listen to, and the Bog music, yeah, whatever. We're going to go to one of those concerts coming up for my birthday, swamp music or whatever it's called. Whatever. We listen to some eclectic stuff.
We'll put some Bog Team rock on. How's that? Classic rock.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jen.
Everybody follow Dana Louise. You're going to love her. Check out her book. There it is. This is going to sound weird, but no, it actually isn't. Once you get into it, you're going to like it. Okay, everybody. Take care.